till shade is gone.
Till water is gone.
Into the shadow with teeth bared.
Screaming defiance with the last breath.
To spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
By my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shia Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade and potentially a new name for this podcast this day.
New name?
Yeah, Sarah, I feel like you just haven't been paying attention at all.
I have too.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you don't know about the new name stuff, I mean, I'll tell you later.
It's awkward. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. All the shade you're throwing me. I feel like I've gotten enough shade in my life. Like, I don't know about water, but shade, certainly. Sorry, water is a reference to Wheel of Time, of course, where we got our name for this show. But we've been thinking about changing our podcast name, folks, and we should probably just let you know. I don't know if it's going to be called The Adam and Sarah Show or The Sarah and Adam Show. That kind of sounds like The Sad Show.
We could call it The Sad Show. No. No. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to call it. We'll discuss, but it'll probably change.
It probably will, because, I mean, there is news about Wheel of Time show. Like, it was renewed.
For season 3.
Yeah, you haven't seemed that excited about it.
I just saw it. Like, I just saw the article.
I know, link. And you just like criticized it. You're like, but we don't even know anything else.
Well, I would just like to know when season 2 is going to start.
I would like that too.
That's all.
I wonder if they're waiting to see how well Lord of the Rings is received
before they like announce when it will air.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been done long enough. Like, I guess we don't know. Last time, when was it released? I guess it was November. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. How many episodes of Lord of the Rings is there? Do you know?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know I looked at every single. I know I looked at the schedule, and I think it goes for close to 2 months, if not longer.
Okay. Ooh, that reminds me. You were working on a calendar just recently,
yes.
Weren't you?
Yes, I did make one.
So a calendar for all of the shows that we're going to be covering. Mm-hmm. So that includes Star Wars and Marvel and Lord of the Rings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there like a triple overlap?
There is. There is a triple overlap in, I want to say September. Yeah, September. Yeah. You have Lord of the Rings, She-Hulk, and Andor.
When is Bad Batch?
Bad Batch? Oh, then we get a quadruple overlap at the end of September. Because Bad Batch starts.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, they're just loading the fall with tons of shows.
Why can't they have one right now?
So, I know. There's nothing new until August. There is nothing new until August 17th is when She-Hulk starts.
August is the best month, at least.
It's true. It is.
Mm-hmm. For 2 reasons.
Yes.
Yep. So, anyways, we're going to be covering some of those shows, maybe all of them. Mm-hmm. Probably not all at the same time, though. Quadruple overlap seems like something that Sarah just couldn't really handle. So, we're just not gonna make her handle it. Don't
Rude.
want to put her don't want to put her above her abilities. So
Thanks. So kind. In the meantime,
you and your scathing sarcasm. Yeah, so in the meantime, we both watched Doctor Strange. Should we come up with some kind of rating system?
we should come up with a rating system. We can do that
Hmm.
for the next episode.
Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, let's just use the standard.
Oh.
What were your thoughts? Oh, and here's a question. Maybe we could do this after we discuss it. Maybe our thoughts on the movie, our take on it, will have changed a little. So, what if we say, going in without having discussed the movie, what would you say? Like an overall rating from 1 to 10 on Doctor Strange, and then we'll do it at the end and see if we've changed our minds a little.
Um, like 6.5.
Okay. So would that puts it in like the you were entertained, but it wasn't
It's not my.
amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
Like unless would not rewatch unless there's a reason for it.
Yeah, like if I were to be like, I'm gonna put a Marvel movie on, this wouldn't be my go-to pick.
Yeah. Yeah, unless there was a reason. Like yeah, I think I could agree with like maybe a 6.5 is pretty good. Yeah, I might even go a 7. I'll go 7 just to be a little different from you, but it in principle the same kind of thing. Like so yeah. How do you want to do this? We've never talked about a movie.
I
This
know.
feels weird because I do movie reviews on my more different podcast with my sister.
You do.
Yeah, but we just laugh and are not structured really. Well, we're kind of structured, but what do you want to do for this though? It's a different show than this, certainly.
So, okay. I think what did you know going into the movie? Let's start there. What did you know before you even watched it about the movie?
I like that. Okay, so I mean, I had to do my research, and I guess we should also, as we're gonna do movie review, like a lot of these things, we should probably give some kind of advice of like, okay, if you really want to get into it, here are the past like things like movies that you should have kind of watched before leading up to it. So I think I saw all the source material, like the previous stuff. So and actually it was weird. So okay, there's the Doctor Strange stuff in What If.
Yeah.
That was not it didn't really touch on this movie nearly as much as I thought it was going to. If at all. Maybe I'm just blind. I haven't like watched any like, you know, breakdown videos where, it could maybe be explained, but there was that. I also watched the Spider-Man movies.
Yep.
And he was actually Doctor Strange was a big part of Spider-Man 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of No Way Home.
But they all have the word home in it. It makes it impossible for me to know which one is which.
I know. Yeah. No Way Home was the third one.
No way are we ever going to use the word home in our title again. Was what they're going to use for Spider-Man 4. But yeah, he's a big part in that one. I watched all the Avengers movies and all that, which I mean, obviously, Endgame was a big deal for him. Well, maybe not Endgame specifically, though. He's the one who created the title for it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's.
and then and you've watched
then,
WandaVision.
Oh yeah. WandaVision that was an important one too. Yeah, so I watched a lot. Specifically about this movie, I didn't know much. I mean, yeah, almost nothing really. I knew that he got captured at some point because he's like wearing handcuffs in the preview, but that's it. What about you?
I knew Wanda would be in it, and I knew that WandaVision was like a kickoff of sorts for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And I knew that like WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange 2 were supposed to be like a little tied triangle for the multiverse starting. So I knew that. I didn't know what capacity though. Like I actually assumed going into this, even though you don't see him anywhere in any of the trailers, I kind of assumed that Spider-Man would be in this one as well. And he's obviously not, but spoiler alert. Yeah, so that's all I knew. I didn't know the overall, like what to expect in terms of new characters or who the quote unquote bad guy would be, that kind of thing.
Well, we've seen Loki. I feel like that was the introduction to the multiverse, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you said the introduction of the multiverse just now, but
well, because they've Kevin Feige talked about WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange 2 specifically being linked with like as a triangle of sorts with the multiverse, and all of them plot point wise affecting each other, I guess. Which makes sense, like when you think about WandaVision and or what she's doing at the end of WandaVision, and he knows what she's up to at the end of WandaVision, and then obviously you have the multiverse with Spider-Man 3, and he's there, and now you have this, so.
okay. Yeah. So we have it's a fun-ish that there's some. I'm always weirded out by seeing Rachel McAdams in these movies for some reason.
Really?
Yeah. You sound disgusted by that idea. Why?
I'm just surprised that you're. Is it just because like you don't expect her to be in a Marvel movie?
Yeah, I don't think of her as a. I mean, she's not a superhero either. She's just like, I'm nice.
I'm nice.
I don't know, like what. but he's so fixated on her, which it's just a very interesting thing. I think that the what if shows, I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from it, is how he has the potential for being totally obsessed with her, like in a totally unhealthy way. I thought that, gosh, I want to like pick out these major themes in the movie. We're not really ready for that. So I also thought it was funny, like he acted a bunch of different Doctor Stranges, and they did a good job of differentiating them.
They did. Which is, it's funny that you say that, because right away when the movie starts, like it's him acting as a different Doctor Strange, which you don't realize that it is. But I remember looking at him while the initial scenes were playing out, and I was like, he looks different. Like it's the same actor. I was like, but he doesn't look like Doctor Strange. And then I watch movies with subtitles on, so
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, so it comes up as Defender Strange, and I was like, that's not his name. So right away, like I knew it wasn't actually him.
Man, subtitles ruin so many things.
They do.
It's wonderful. Like I like subtitle spoilers, actually.
Yeah. So, but it's a good point that you bring up, because he was playing different versions of himself, and right away in the beginning I was like, something's off. Like this isn't Doctor Strange. Even before it said Defender Strange, before I saw that, I was like, this isn't right. So he already from the very first scene did a good job with that.
Yeah. So it really, one of the things that I kept thinking of the whole time. So, all right, I'm not a big podcast listener. I was in the car while someone else was listening to a podcast just randomly, and it was a discussion about, well, I mean, I guess relationships in general, and the idea of like dating someone to change them, like with the
Mm,
idea of, like eventually maybe you marry them, maybe you don't, but like if you're long with someone, and like will you be able to change them, and I mean the common thinking nowadays, like it used to be like, oh yeah, he's a fixer upper or whatever, like
right.
the stereotype of a female thinking about guys that way. And and so the idea, some ladies like, oh no, like when I'd rather have someone that I can, bend to my will eventually, because I'm gonna change them. And everyone's like, no, you can't. He's a grown man. He's not gonna change. Like you just maybe you'll. She's like, oh, I provide motivation. I'm like, this is weird, but it was just like the pod. I keep thinking about it though, in terms of like looking at Doctor Strange through those lenses, because he plays all these different roles,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of references to like, no, this one is good, like this Doctor Strange is different, he's better, he's different than these other
Right.
ones. And I know that like they're different people, but I mean they're the same in some ways, at least.
Right. It's the same character, but a different person.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I see what you mean.
Well, and some of them may have really key things that happen in their development that don't happen to the other ones, and therefore it shapes them in a certain important way that the others. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, could he change? Like, does one Strange differ in, like, can they be significantly different from each other?
Um I
Is it
think
plausible?
I think maybe in how they go about achieving things, like in terms of getting things done. But I think their motivations would probably be very similar. Like we saw this in the movie. Like he um oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. What's Rachel's character's name?
Let's just call
Christine.
her Rachel McAdams.
But he but like he even acknowledges the fact that in every universe he loves her. Like he's obsessed with her in every universe.
Right.
Um so like that's a
Even the one
consistent.
where he's paint.
Yeah, that was a weird universe. But like it's a consistent thing. But you can see that in the universe they go to in 838, um, like Doctor Strange did want to stop Thanos the same way this Doctor Strange wanted to. He just went about it the wrong way to the point that it backfired on him. Um, so they have the same, I don't know, like core goals, I guess. And it's just like their execution that's different.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably where they would differ. And then maybe in terms of how cutthroat they want to be, because that first Defender Strange is pretty ruthless to America.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was just a very interesting thing to think, like they're all the same or they're all different. Like also, I mean, the multiverse is so problematic in a lot of ways. Like I think it's fine, it's cool, like it's they go in this direction, and I mean, okay, so how many universes at this point? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so let's even say that the world is somehow only, like 6,000 years old. Like, like or however long like the biblical definition. I'm not saying that that's how old the Earth actually is, but
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, if you think about how old, like, modern humans are, as we, like when civilizations were born, I guess it's more than 6,000 years old anyways, but I mean 10,000 years, 20,000, however long it's been, like there is so many countless variations of things that could transpire to be that, like, all these, like, Doctor Strange wouldn't be born in a ton of them. Like they're, in a way, they're making the multiverse look
Mm-hmm.
like every world, and maybe I'm just oversimplifying it, but it seems like every world is going, like every universe is going to have a Doctor Strange,
Well,
every or at least the potential for one.
yeah, and like you see it in this movie with Captain America. Instead of Captain America in
Hmm.
838, it's Captain Carter
Right.
because she's the one who takes the serum.
Hmm. Which
No.
is in What If.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So it's not Steve Rogers anymore. It's like, man, I can't even think of how to put it into words, but because it's not the same character, but it is the same character.
Right. Well, it's like the archetype of Captain America is going to exist,
Right.
but someone else might take the role. Uh,
Right.
But but what about the possibility that like America doesn't actually exist in a different realm? Like,
Right. Which she says she's pretty sure she doesn't. She doesn't dream.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you mean the country?
United States, like Captain America. Captain America is based off of, yeah, like like just the idea. I mean, I know I guess she wouldn't be Captain America, would she? Or is she?
She's
Is she
Captain
Cap?
Carter.
Right, right. So I don't know. Maybe there's always the archetype. I just, what about the billions of different possibilities that would lead to, that never happening, like to society going a totally different way. Like we would never see those, I guess. I don't know. Like there must be there must just be hundreds of trillions of universes that, you know,
Don't have that.
yeah, don't even have the possibility of that.
Right.
Or they're all relatively recent branches and therefore they're all, you know, basically have the same. I don't know. I should probably do more research on it. Like once you get into multiverse kind of ideas, like it really just kind of breaks my mind, I guess.
Because there's endless possibilities, like you said.
Right. Or like you get to that part in the movie where Strange is like, "Hey, have you ever had a nightmare of falling?" It's probably because I pushed you out. Like he's just like going and murdering all the different Doctor Stranges.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, it's dark.
yeah, it's real dark. Um
Yeah.
so okay, so like the overall plot, I guess, of this movie essentially is bringing in the multiverse because they bring in that America Chavez she can travel the multiverse. She doesn't know how she does it. She can't control herself. And someone is trying to hunt her to get her power so that they can travel the multiverse instead. And then you eventually learn that it is Wanda who is traveling or is hunting America and wants her power so that she can be reunited with her boys. Um, so that's pretty much the like really simple plot, and then obviously Doctor Strange is trying to help America, and it's Doctor Strange versus Wanda. Um,
Hmm.
I did not expect them to make Wanda the like bad guy in this, the quote unquote bad guy.
Yeah, well, I remember watching a bunch of reaction videos and analysis videos pointing to the idea of a bad guy version and a good guy version of both Doctor Strange and Wanda. And we really didn't get a good guy version of Wanda. Like we got like an innocent version, like I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't know. Stay-at-home is not even the right word to describe, but she's like, a mom to the twins, Wanda. But she's more like puppet Wanda. Like she's almost nothing. Yeah, I didn't expect Wanda to be the bad guy. Like what so okay, end of WandaVision. She accepts the reality that her kids aren't real. And she does some good things. I feel like she beat the witch person who was trying to mess
Yep,
with her,
Agatha.
Agatha, and she's a little vindictive. She's like, "All right, you get to stay here forever." But she like it seemed like she was like moving on. She's like going to accept a different reality, but not, it didn't seem like she was stuck on have to go get my kids somehow.
Oh, see, I thought it was. So at the end of WandaVision, you have her, like break her trance on everyone in Westview, and she does imprison
Hmm.
Agatha there. But at the very, very end, when you see her in her cabin and she's studying the Darkhold, you can hear the boys saying, "Help me, mom."
Hmm.
So
Well,
right then
uh,
was when I knew she's still trying to find them.
okay. So you're right. I thought they were trying. She's trying to find them, but in I thought she was trying to find them in healthy ways, like in some like
Right.
she's trying to figure out how to like. It just seemed like it was kind of a moderately happy ending. Like it's kind of glum. It's a little bit sad, but I
Hmm.
thought that it was like it didn't have an ominous overtone. Like oh, she's gonna come back as a bad guy.
Right. Um.
I
Yeah.
didn't like her as the bad guy. I always really liked the character. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just because I thought she was hot, but I mean, you know, I just thought I always liked she showed a lot of inner strength a lot of times, like that resilience,
Hmm.
and to see her just totally capitulate to being like, nope, just gonna be selfish now. It was a little bit of a downer.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot going on with Wanda that unfortunately isn't explained well in the movies or in the show that she had, where like she is now getting into. I feel like for Wanda, she's just getting thrust into all of her powers now and realizing just how strong she is. And in the comics, she is a, I know I told you this earlier, she's a Nexus being. So she is
Right?
literally one of the strongest beings in this universe. So
Yeah, like she almost beat Thanos even when he had most of the
yeah,
stones. Like she's yeah, very clearly ridiculously strong.
right. So, and Nexus beings are tied to a universe. So Wanda is tied to this one, which is why she could pretty much almost beat Thanos. And like uh, Kang the Conqueror is a Nexus being, and he's tied to a universe,
Right.
and you've got all these other Nexus beings, and they all have a power that's unique to them, and obviously Wanda being the Scarlet Witch, like that's her power. So I feel like she's just kind of hitting her stride with how strong she is, and then you also have all of these moments in the comics that aren't talked about.
So you've read all these comics?
No, I did like a quick like summary of Wanda just to like get the background on her, because there's so much on her that's not, that you don't realize, for just to explain like how powerful she is. Like there's an arc in the comics where she, because she can, as a like her her powers are so strong as a Nexus being, and you've seen this in the movies and in her show, she can warp reality. So she literally created her boys out of nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so like that's how strong her powers are. And then there's an arc in the comics where she just gets rid of all the mutants. She's like, yeah, no more mutants, and gets rid of them all. So there's just all of these things that
She just wipes them out.
she just wipes them out.
Like kills them or
She just eliminates them from, like, she's like, no more mutants. And there's
mm,
like, she has these moments where actually Elizabeth Olsen did an interview about this, because she was really hoping, she didn't think Disney would give her the ability to go into this role with Scarlet Witch, where she got to play like the crazy part of Wanda, and where she gets really like, I don't want to say devious, but more like, evil also sounds bad too, but like the crazy side of Wanda.
yeah. More insane.
Yeah, where you see like the darker side of her coming out, and she didn't think Disney would ever
Hmm.
do that because it's Disney. So fair. And then when WandaVision started, that and now Doctor Strange 2, you can see that they're like, yep, this is the arc we're going with. We're following her darker side.
Hmm. I mean, okay, I guess that can be okay. I don't know. I'm the guy who I didn't like the red wedding in
Oh, and Game of
the
Thrones.
yeah, like it served no narrative purpose. Like it just shocked people. That's what it did. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was I and I cringe away from that a little bit. Like I also don't so okay, so it's an interesting context that you give us that for the comics and everything. Um, I guess the my question would be, so they're kind of in a way creating their own version of the comics though, because they can't have all the same. Like, I mean,
Right.
I've seen how big the Civil War text is. Like, if you want, it's like a book like this big, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like if you just wanted to smash them all into one book, it's like it's as wide as my shoulders, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Not that people know how wide they are, but like it's huge, and we get one movie about the Civil War.
Right.
You know, like they can't fit it all in, and I get that. I don't want them to try. But so the question is, should these characters be still going off of what happened in the comic books sometimes? Like not just draw inspiration for, but like these events, like you said, like there's some events that they just didn't show in the comics. Should they just be showing uh like the should they be showing the things or for sure should they just be consistent with only the things that we've seen in the actual like cinematic universe?
Right. Um, I don't know because I think if you're only consistent with the cinematic universe, you tie yourself into you're gonna back yourself into a corner.
Well, I mean, they could show something like they could go back and show some of these scenes for Wanda from these comics, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's all I'm saying is if they're gonna reference like, okay, she's suddenly gone crazy, but we didn't see it in the cinematic universe, but she's gone crazy because of things that have happened off screen. Don't you think that we should see those things on screen or get some reference? Because it's just like, oh, she's suddenly different. I don't know why. Oh, well, it's in a comic book. Like that doesn't seem
Well,
fair to the more casual viewers.
so to be fair, like I haven't read them, so I don't know the whole arc of how she gets to that point. But
Hmm.
like I would assume in the comics, it's the same idea where it's not like she just turns it on and there's no context. Like I feel like let's just say hypothetically they're showing us everything that happens in the storyline. This is probably the start of it, like the uptick for her. Because like there's just so much that's I don't know how to articulate this. You can't include all of it. That is the problem. And
Right.
so you have to like leave out some stuff, but everyone is going to have the start of where their arc changes or where like this could be the start of Wanda where she's just like we saw this in WandaVision when she was figuring out her powers. Like she learned how to do hexes from Agatha, and in the comics Agatha actually trains her. So
Hmm.
that's like a tie-in there, and she learns the hexes from her. And like strengthens her powers and starts studying the Darkhold. So we see all this stuff slowly building. So I don't think that it's necessarily missing. I just think it's just stuff that they can't include all of it in. And I don't know the timeline of the comics in terms of when those things happen versus when it's happening now in the MCU and if they're going to make them come into the MCU or not. But I guess I'm just saying I'm not totally shocked by her darker side because of that.
That's fair. I guess I just okay. So I get into this with Star Wars sometimes, where I mean, there's several layers of canon in the Star Wars universe, right? Like
Right.
there's the stuff that happens in the movies, and then there's stuff that happens in the shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to keep going deeper, you can. Like you can play video games, which is, the new video games are mostly canon. There are books that are all part of the canon. There are comic books that are all part of the canon. Like you can, and then you can just go and read all the legends stuff, which isn't canon. But like there's a countless number, like that. There's too much content for Star Wars. Like it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. I love Star Wars. And so I've consumed a ton of that content, and I've had these conversations with like my dad, who is very casual in Star Wars. Like he doesn't even watch, like he'll watch most of the movies usually, like there'll sometimes be like, no, I didn't see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, dad, like what, how are you my dad, like you've never seen this, and that's fine. I just like so I get into these conversations with him where I'm like, oh yeah, well that happened in Mandalorian season whatever, and he's like, oh, I had to watch Mandalorian to understand that.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, I think that there's just a certain level of expectation for me. I'm like, well, I'd say that for the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't. I mean, now we do a show about it, at least to some degree. So I guess you could say I'm a bigger fan. But for the most part, I'm like, okay, I'll watch all of the things once at least,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done that for the most part. I haven't seen Thor yet, but otherwise, I think I'm pretty caught up in all of the Marvel stuff, and I don't know. I have a certain level of like, well, I don't want to have to also be responsible for what happens in the comics.
Right.
So,
Which is fair, and I don't think you need to.
mhm,
I personally just looked it up because I wanted a deeper understanding.
sure,
Um, but like if you just look at it at a surface level, like I don't think you need to do that.
it's fine. Yeah, so she just seemed different. That's all. Like it just seemed like to me a little like, well, okay, she can be the bad guy. I mean, I don't know who else would be the bad guy. So I thought it was really fun actually. The first scene where he talks to her
Mm-hmm.
and she's in like some lovely orchard, and that's the scene that they show
Previews.
in all the previews.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's actually like in just like a place of ruin, basically like a fiery, it looks like she's in hell almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because she can like that's her thing, right? She just warps reality. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I did enjoy that scene too. So, and like that's where you see the turn a little bit in her, right? Like you see
Mm-hmm.
this side of her that we're used to seeing, that we did kind of see a little bit of at the end of WandaVision. And
Mm-hmm.
then like you know that she didn't put the magic behind her because you saw her studying magic at the end of WandaVision. Um but yeah, the whole like her slipping up with America's name, it's just
Yeah, that was good.
and everything turning from there. So,
Did you catch the America name slip? Like, did you were you like, oh, she shouldn't know that name?
not immediately. Once she said it, I was like, "Oh yeah, he didn't say her name."
Hmm.
And then you had like the nice reveal of her unwarping reality, so to speak. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't catch it either. I,
mhm.
I thought I was disappointed in myself, but it's a man to do. Okay, so all right. So another question I had during all of this. So like they're jumping in and out of realities. They're meeting
Mhm.
all these different people. They're gonna destroy things, and so she does fight like the Avengers from a different universe.
Mhm.
She's a Nexus being. I wondered though, because a lot of what she was doing in our universe, right? Like she's the
Right.
Nexus from our kind of from our universe. I just and I always wonder this too, like in all these other movies, like they do a good job of kind of keeping it localized to the movie, but like why aren't some of the Avengers like gonna come and take her out? Like where are the Avengers?
Right.
Like no, like we have like the people from the cast from Doctor Strange, and that's basically it that are opposing her, and she's like gonna, you have to think like the whole, the sorcerer group, whatever they are, and the
Mm-hmm.
sanctum, like you think that one of them would just call one of the Avengers like, hey,
But I mean,
this is going down, like we're something that will end like all multiverses or something, like could potentially, like America Chavez is in danger, we could use help.
so who do you call? Because Iron Man and Captain America are gone.
Hmm.
Thor's in space.
Yeah.
Um,
Or like you call Nick Fury and he sees who's available. Get what's his name, Hawkeye.
yeah.
I don't know. This has to be someone though. Well, and not to mention, like, I mean, I asked this question too when the Avengers movies are coming in,
Mm-hmm.
are happening. Where's the U.S. military?
Yeah.
Like, they don't show up, and you think there's creatures invading New York City, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing in the first Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But they're invading at least one of the big American cities, and it's like at some point the US military would absolutely have arrived in a big way, even if they were totally ineffective. But I mean, it doesn't add to the cool cinematic effect of just like five Avengers beating down a whole army.
Right.
So I don't know. Whatever. Like these are things. These are realities that I have to just suspend my
Yeah.
disbelief, and it's fine. Like I guess the thing is, we want meaningful conflict in these movies, right?
Yeah. I think also though you're tying it to your reality. In your reality, there is no Avengers, right? So
What do you mean?
like what you're saying about the U.S. Army showing up,
Okay.
there could theoretically be a reality where they wouldn't show up because they know the Avengers are there.
Okay.
Like I guess I'm just trying to highlight the fact that you're looking at it from your perspective and your reality, and you need to suspend that.
There's a reality somewhere that I'm explaining this exact principle to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you are wondering where the U.S. Army is. There's
Maybe.
there's some there's a reality out there somewhere. I'm sure of it. I checked.
I don't know how to explain it. Never mind.
No, but I'm not trying to be. I'm sure there's some level of me that's trying to be difficult. I I just think it's just an interesting thing of, that it's fine. Like they don't. We want to see the cool stuff, right? Like it wouldn't help if someone did just, you know, solve it for the Avengers. They just like showed up out of nowhere. They're like, oh, solved.
Right.
Like, yeah, like what if Captain Marvel just showed up in the middle of something, and just like, what if she had got in and just like stopped Thanos before he had gotten even one stone?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't have made an interesting conflict. Like who cares? Like I don't want it to be easy for our heroes, and if I have to suspend disbelief that other people and other places are going to intervene on their behalf, I guess I'm fine with that. I just there's always some part of my corner of my brain that I'm like, what happened? So, um, okay. Did you have any predictions, by the way, going into this movie? Because I had one.
Mm, I don't think so.
Or
Like,
maybe not going into it, like during the movie, maybe.
I don't think so because I mean, I didn't really know what to expect from the movie other than that obviously we were going to have the multiverse opened. I mean, it was kind of already open before this, but no, I don't think I had any predictions.
Okay.
Did you?
I mean, I expected it would get weird, and it did. Um, but I mean, actually the plot was pretty easy to like. They did a good job of not making it just totally like, what even is going on? Like, am I on drugs? I don't remember taking any,
Right.
kind of thing. Um, but at the same time, so I guess the one thing in this, you know, so Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme,
Right.
and I don't know. So out of all the superheroes, I feel like, and this sentence is going to sound like real cocky of me. But let me explain. So out of all the superheroes, I feel like I can relate the most to Doctor Strange, and that's not me saying that I'm like the smartest person in the world. I think that there is a certain level of like arrogance like that he has that I can relate to, though. Like, that's one of his weaknesses is his sense of self, and he learns some humility like he learns how to wield at least a little bit of humility. And I always thought that was my favorite. Like, that's my favorite thing, is when he recognizes at some point he has this shift in his mind where he's like, okay, I'm not the most important thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he still clearly deals with some ego stuff, but he he's able to keep a handle on it. I always liked that, about him. And so he's still dealing with, like, he's probably a more powerful sorcerer than, what's his name, Wang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably more like, he might not be more wise. Like, Wang has a lot of really good, like, wise things to say, but it clearly rankles him. And so my prediction at the start was like, because Wang is always like, it's traditional to bow to the Sorcerer Supreme or whatever, and he never does, never does, never does.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, he's totally gonna do it at the end. I know he is. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna bow to him.
That was your prediction?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small prediction, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I thought it kind of made sense that he wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme, to be honest.
Well, like, I think he was the Sorcerer Supreme until he turned into dust, right?
He
Until he,
was, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then so it made sense that he's not, and then he comes back, but it also made sense to me that he wouldn't just be handed it back. Because he did give the time stone to Thanos. So I could see them being like, well, maybe not.
There's an interesting thought. His cloak is apparently not a candidate to be, like, consumed by Thanos's snap. It's just like a piece of apparel that disappears with the person who's wearing it.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, doesn't matter. It's pretty minor. Anyways, so I feel like I've been hogging the conversation. What do you
No.
want to talk about?
No. It was definitely a lot darker than I thought it would be as well. I didn't expect it to be as dark as it was. I think this might be the darkest Marvel movie I've watched.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that's one thing that I had heard going into it, was that it's not a horror movie, but it has elements from horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
That certainly manifested itself once he went to to the planet where he faces, like, the Illuminati and stuff.
Right, when he's on in the other universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have that whole, and again, this goes back to like Wanda's powers. She makes Black Bolt's mouth disappear.
So so yeah, and I didn't recognize that guy, actually. What's he from?
I'm pretty sure he is a Inhuman. I want to say. I think
What's that?
it's like a category of, like, you've got mutants and Inhumans and
Was he in a movie I missed, or a show?
no. It's a whole new introduction.
Okay, so like maybe we'll eventually get a movie with
Yeah.
them with him.
Well, and there's like I don't know all of the details, but there are a lot of like negotiation and problems between Disney and I want to say Sony. Might not be Sony. It might be Fox. Actually, it's Fox.
They own
With
Fox now.
right, but Fox had the rights
Oh,
to
had the rights.
had the rights to X-Men, and then Sony had the rights to Spider-Man, and Disney obviously had the rights to Marvel, but not Spider-Man and not X-Men, and then they bought Fox. So now it's like this whole thing where they're trying to bring the X-Men in, I think, which is why like you saw like Charles Xavier and like the little X-Men theme song played when he came in, and so you can see like it's like it's almost like you can see like the legal stuff kind of bleeding into the movies now because they're bringing in characters they weren't allowed to have beforehand,
Right.
and now they can, but they haven't been introduced beforehand. So it's like I don't know. It's a way of getting more convoluted. But I had the thought though that they might just make it that the X-Men and like the Inhumans and mutants and stuff like that exist in specific universes because now that they've introduced the multiverse. So you have the one that we're used to, 616, and then they were in 838, and we're like, oh well, like maybe that's where the Inhumans are, or X-Men or whichever, and they're in their own universes and not the same universe as the Avengers.
Yeah, well, I like kind of liked that actually. It seems like a good nuanced way to kind of bring them in. Because yeah, I was aware of all of the they acquired Fox, and once they did, they could bring all these characters in. But it's like, well, so what movies from Fox are canon? Like probably they can't really make that many of them. But I mean, there's some really good like Wolverine stuff. Like I really liked some of those. X-Men movies and stuff. So you could be like, oh yeah, all that happened in some random other universe. Yep.
Right, exactly. You could be like, that was universe this number.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to say, and now I'm such an idiot. I don't remember what his name is, what his actor's name is, but dude, that guy's old and he's still like Captain Professor X.
Oh,
He he's still in a lot of stuff though. Like he had his own. Is his show still going? Like he had his own like
Star Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek show.
I think it is. I don't actually know off the top of my head.
Yeah, but he's still really active, and he's yeah. I was just impressed that it's just fun to see him. You know, he didn't play a really big role here. I also thought it was like there that group's Avengers were, I don't know, they were kind of disappointing. Like, wouldn't it have been sad if like the ones that we watched at the cinematic universe, like, you know, take any five or whatever and pit them against Wanda? Like, wouldn't it be sad to see them just all just melt
Yeah.
to her?
But, I mean, so, like, I honestly think they would melt. Even if you had the Avengers that were in our own realm. Because she's the Nexus being in that universe. So I think they would melt to her.
Oh, Patrick Stewart, by the way,
Ah, yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they very well might. I would think. Well, at the very least, I think Thor would put up a bigger fight because he's, you know.
Sure.
But yeah. Anyways, that's beside the point. I was like, why doesn't Wanda just close every person's mouth and nose? Like, why doesn't she just make them stop existing? Like, just make it so they can't breathe anymore. Like, instead of having to kill them or being worried, like you just like close their like make their mouths and noses disappear so they can't get oxygen, and then hide for like 5 minutes.
And then hide.
But like, it would be so boring, but like really effective.
Did you get and I mean, I guess this ties into what you were saying earlier about being told there were like horror elements in it. So she obviously like faces off against all of these like Illuminati people and whatever these droid sentients are that are there. And so then you
Yeah.
see her like coming after Christine and Doctor Strange and America, and she's got like the droid grease on her or whatever, but it literally
Yeah.
looks like blood
Hmm.
on her.
Oh yeah, it was
Like
terrifying.
it gave me such Carrie vibes.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either, and I still got Carrie vibes from it. I was
Okay.
like,
Think about Carrie.
but
Like CG Carrie? Or... No, just kidding.
and then like she's like limping and like like half limping and running, and so then I was like, it's kind of like a zombie.
Yeah, she looks like a
run.
zombie.
I was like, this is
That's what I kept thinking.
yeah. It was just quite a few, quite a few horror nods there. So I don't know. Not think it did a good job with it. It was just I don't think I was prepared for how dark it would be.
No, well, I mean, gosh, that honestly, it was so disturbing. Like, and gosh, they were so dumb. They were like, well, the Black Bolt guy, like, he just has to say one thing and he'll kill you. And she's like, oh, well, I'll just stop. I'll solve that. But she didn't know that threat. Like, why would you do that? You're a superhero used to fighting these people. Like, why not just hold your secret until it's time, and then just because all the other ones talked. He's the only one who didn't.
Yeah, but and like
Like,
I think that also just spoke to a little bit of their arrogance because
yeah.
they were like, "Oh yeah, we can handle your Dreamwalker when she dreamwalks here," and Doctor Strange is like, "No, like you can't." He's trying to tell them like you're not going to be able to handle her, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll be fine." Then they go.
Oh,
out
you're
there,
right.
right,
Yeah, they did have some hubris there for sure.
right, and then they go out
Like they
there.
didn't even. Good.
No, well, and then they do exactly what you said, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what he can do to you, and this is what she can do to you," and like just spill out all the secrets. And she's like, "All right, well, I'll just make it so you can't do those things."
Right. But I honestly like probably that was the most disturbing scene out of all of them to me. Just see heroes being slaughtered
Right?
by
Yeah.
her, and just in such like what a horrific way to like he which I mean I don't feel, I feel like he's so practiced in not speaking he wouldn't scream verbally, like he knows better than that, he doesn't have to, but just for the sake of it, and his brain just exploded, like how horrific.
I know it was a lot. It was a lot.
And then I don't know anything about the Fantastic Four, but that guy just like gets pulled into little spaghetti strands and he's just dead. And
Yep.
yeah, and then Captain Carter just gets chopped in half with her own shield. Like, oh, it's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was gruesome.
Yeah, I was like, this is as close to a horror movie as I ever want to get. Like, I just like as a kind of defense mechanism to it. I just like, I'm not gonna get scared at this. I'm just gonna make fun of it, and that like I ruined horror movies for people. Like I can't do I can't do horror movies because I just mock it the whole time as like a defense mechanism for myself, so I don't feel scared.
Right.
Like it's not a pleasant aspect to it, so I just leave them alone. But yeah, this is about as close as I wanted to get.
What did you think of America Chavez?
Um, I thought she was okay. I really, I did laugh about. She's like, oh yeah, like like most worlds, you don't even have to pay to eat.
Yeah.
And then it turns out like probably most of them you do have to. She just like thought that she didn't, and she just stole a bunch of pizzas.
She's just been stealing the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did think that was a good laugh out loud moment. I thought she was fine. I thought it was like here's what I keep thinking, because they keep adding people, and I guess now they're starting to slowly like whittle away at them and get rid of people. But I'm just like, do we need more?
Right.
Like I at the very end where like I think it's even one of the end caps where he is walking and he's like happy and whatever you like thing, and then some random lady shows up and she's like, let's go to save the world, and he's
Mhm.
like, all right, let's go. And I was like, okay, but who's she?
Right. Yeah, they're just introducing it, and like I get why they're doing it, because like to me, if they were to bring out an Avengers movie, which they won't because most of the Avengers are gone, but if they were, I'd be like, well, who's gonna go?
Right.
Right. So you need new heroes now. Um,
Hmm.
I liked that they introduced America. Like I liked her character.
Yeah.
I think I was just so fixated on Doctor Strange and Wanda that she kind of faded into the background a little bit.
Hmm.
So,
I'd say that's accurate.
right? Like,
Well, she,
I don't know. I want.
oh, well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I keep trying to interrupt you, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just feel like I want like more background on her and where she came
Sure.
from, and like why is there only one of her?
Right. Well, like, is she a Nexus being?
Right? Like why is there only? Because
Why did?
that was the whole thing. They were saying like when you see whatever you're dreaming, like that's a different universe. That's different universe you. And she's like, well, I don't dream, so there's no one else. Like there's only one of me. So I'm like, well, why is there only one of you? What's the deal? You gotta have a pretty big power for there to only be one of you.
I did think it was funny. She's like, "Well, I don't dream." Like I liked their explanation on dreaming, and at the same time, I was like, some part of me was like, "Well, hmm, like, isn't there scientific reasons that we need dreams or something?"
I think so.
Like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But, anyways, she like so you're right. She was like a main character, and at the same time, she was very secondary. Like
Hmm.
even tertiary. Like what was her like development arc? Like she doesn't grow really. She's like, oh, I guess I can use like I can't use my powers voluntarily. I can't use my powers voluntarily. Oh, I guess I can.
Right.
She realized something.
Right. She eventually figures out how to use them on demand.
Right. Like sometimes I realize that it's past time for me to be done at work and I need to go home. Like,
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like she should have had a bigger role in a way.
I, I'm interested to see if we're even going to see her around much because now they're like, oh, like go ahead and just learn how to be a sorcerer, I guess, or sorceress.
Right. Yeah, that's fair actually, because also Doctor Strange is now into whatever universe with
With whatever her name is.
yeah, Clea.
Clea, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like short for Cleopatra.
I only know because I watched with subtitles.
Right. Well, I just forgot what. Do you know where she's from? What's that?
I haven't looked her up yet. Um,
I'm sure she's some other new character.
um, so what would you rate it after a discussion? I guess.
Well, did we get through everything we want to discuss? We should probably pull the plug here soonish, huh?
Um, were there other points that you missed?
I guess the one last thing so they keep creating new realms. To me,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Um, so okay, so we talked about it during the Miss Marvel show, like
Mm-hmm.
that there's dimensions which is different from universes in the multiverse. And so we don't want we don't want the dimensions to blend, but that's where the Jinn are from. They're in a different dimension, and we have the multiverses. And I mean, what else? I feel like there's a couple. I mean, they have the quantum realm,
Mm-hmm.
and They have. I feel like there's still like a couple that I'm missing here, but there keeps being new things. And now we have like the realm of the dead.
Right.
Like he has zombie strange, and there's rules apparently. You can't animate corpses and all these things. And that, I mean, it all kind of made sense in the context, but at the same time, like now we have the realm of the dead or creatures from that realm coming in and affecting the living.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, will we ever not have a new level of existence
a new
created?
a new realm.
Well, it's like the first few movies are like, hey, like Earth. And then we can expand it to the idea that, okay, there are lots of different planets in our universe, in our galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
and there's space travel. But that's like the very least of it. It expands dramatically with the idea of a multiverse and dimensions and quantum realm. And I don't now the realm of the dead or whatever it is. I don't know, just a passing thought. So yeah, we can call it good here. What I don't know, I feel almost like I like it less now having discussed it, but
um, I wouldn't say I like it less. I definitely don't like it more though.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, it makes me feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes me feel like it's going to be harder for me to find any significance in what people do. In some ways, it's like, oh well, if they lose, we'll just start watching movies from a different universe. Like,
Mm. I see what you mean.
I also don't want to feel. I felt like this diluted a lot of, like, we talked about America,
Mm-hmm.
and she like didn't add that much because we wanted to focus on him and on him and Wanda. That's fine. But then we also have like all these other heroes that come up, and like Mordo was there, and he barely played a part. He's like, man, I'm really annoyed at you now. So
Right.
we didn't go anywhere with that. I just feel like if we're gonna keep adding more and 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 more, like it seems a little overwhelming. Like more realms, more people, more madness.
Mm-hmm. What did you I just realized we didn't talk about this. What did you think of Wanda at the end when she was realizing that she needed to stop doing what she was doing when America showed her the boys in that other universe again, and they like freaked out and ran away from her, and like that whole, like, you could kind of see her breaking down a little bit.
I thought it was cool. I like the mirror. Like it just felt like she was looking in the mirror finally. Like
Mm-hmm.
she didn't want. She was in denial, and finally, somewhat they were able to show her the reality of what she was doing. And I guess in a way that defeats my thoughts of saying like she turned into a bad guy. Like we all have these moments of realization that you're like, oh man, I've been messing up. That's not a good thing. And if you try to fix it right away, like that's way more telling about who you are as opposed to, oh, okay, well I've been messing up. That's not good, but I'll keep doing it anyways. Like,
Right.
what are your thoughts? I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. It felt like a little bit of a, I don't even want to say like a drastic turnaround for her, but it was almost fitting because it was the boys that were the ones doing it, and that's why she was like wanting to go through all of this trouble, right? So it felt good in that sense, like it made sense to me versus it just being her, seeing the other universe's version of herself, right? And it made sense to really focus on the boys there. And then yeah, like you said, comes back afterwards, like when she closes that realm, or that universe, and she says like she has to be the one to close the Darkhold so that no one else uses it again.
Mm.
it was like an instantaneous turnaround for her.
Yeah. Well, it's like she snapped herself out of the trance that she had put herself in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah. Thanks. I thought so. Yeah, I thought that was strong. So what did you think of Doctor Strange's arc? Like, what did you see? Anything good, bad? Like, what are your thoughts on him as a character?
Um, I think I liked his arc in this one better than like the original Doctor Strange. I thought the original Doctor Strange was just a little too, I don't know, like arrogant seems like the wrong word because he's still pretty arrogant here as well. Um, but he also he also comes across more confident and sure of himself and his abilities in this one. Um, so yeah, I think I liked it. I think I liked that he was willing to help another person. Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, I think him realizing that he went to somebody for help and the person he went to for help happened to be the one that they were like needing protection from, basically. That realization was really interesting to see because you could see this turn where, not even like a turn, but he's realized that it doesn't matter if he has a history with Wanda or a past with Wanda or, you know, they're tied together because of the Avengers or whatever, or Thanos or anything like that. Um, he's still going to do like the quote unquote right thing and try to stop her from doing what she's going to do if she's acting out, so to speak. So I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do like that we got to see like different versions of him.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it really does highlight like what you were saying earlier, where they kept focusing on like, no, he's different, he's a good one, he's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be why they only showed us worse versions of Doctor Strange.
I like that he never insisted that he was good.
Right. He was just like doing what he had to do, basically.
Well, even during discussions of like, I guess maybe there were some things where he's like, "Oh, I'm different" or something. But I feel like, I mean, how disingenuous is it if you're like, "Oh, I'm not like that person." I don't know, like holding yourself up to, "I'm different, I'm better."
That's actually a good point because at the very start of the movie, when America's like, "How do I know that I can trust you? Like, you're not just gonna try and kill me like the other one did," and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"You don't. You're just gonna trust me."
Right.
Like he doesn't go to that. Well, like I'm not like him. I'm a good guy. He's like,
Yeah. Like I am what I am. I mean, because if I knew that there was another of me in a different universe, like me trying to claim that I'm a better person than that version of me would be preposterous, really. Like, who knows? Who knows if that's the case? And even if I knew I was better, like, what purpose does that serve, anyways? All that matters is what you can do in the present. Um, I think my very favorite part was at the very end. It's like there's a part of like he and Rachel McAdams could potentially have ended up together, kind of.
right.
Like he's available and clearly likes her, and she doesn't. Like she's just like a scientist
Right.
for a group of people who are now dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call.
And so they could end up together, but I love that he was just like he let her go. He didn't fight about it. Like no one else could let her go.
Right.
None of the other strangers could. And I love the discussion about like when people ask him if he's happy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm," like he's not happy. he's not happy, but it's like you got to own it, bud. And once he like owned it, he was able to move forward. And so he went through. I love like how they de-emphasize their relationship is important to, like, very important to a lot of aspects of it, but at the same time I love that they don't just like have a sickly sweet ending where it's like, yay, and then they got married and they're happy now because everything works out. It's just like he needed to like move on from her so that he could grow. Like he needed that. Like it would have put him way back, in my opinion, if they had been like, let's just hook up. Like, what are you even doing with yourself? Like, you may as well just hang out with me, come back to my universe. And you could tell that they both kind of wanted it.
Right.
But for him to just be able to be like, no, I kind of just have to get over you, and he does. I think that was probably the most powerful part to me, was him, because at the end of the day, like, the bad guy's gonna lose usually or eventually, and the good guy's gonna win. But I love that he grew that way. That felt like an actual win.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Especially like when he is noting the fact that he is gonna want her in every universe, right? Like, but he's able to admit that, but not latch onto it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was cool. And then at the end, to you, it makes sense that he would not be the Sorcerer Supreme. It didn't make sense to him, though.
Right.
He wants to be the Sorcerer Supreme. Who's better at being Sorcerer Supreme than him? Like, he's way clearly more qualified. I mean, in his mind, I'm sure that he thinks similar thoughts to that.
Oh, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and so for him to swallow his pride and bow to Wang and to say, "All right, like, I accept your leadership." I mean, that's tough. I recently, like, someone was telling me about how they had that they needed to, like, watch their kids more, so they decided to take a smaller role in their company. And so they stepped down and they had to train their supervisor. How tough is that, to train your supervisor for the job that you used to be the supervisor,
Right.
and now you're relinquishing it to someone else who's the boss of you, but you used to be that position. Like, for a long time, you're going to be like, I know everything and you don't. Like, you're messing up. Stop messing up. Like,
don't do it that way.
Yeah. And for him to just bow to Wang and just be like, especially a man of his ego and talent, and and he's the one who saved everyone, really, like, by giving up the time stone and everything. Like, he does have an enormous ego. He could even be bigger. And for him to finally just bow to him and like, show him honor and, like, be at peace with that, it's also so huge. Like, it's, as a person with an ego myself, I can recognize that's an enormously difficult thing to do. So good for him.
Yeah, good point. I like that. It's good character growth,
Yeah. I ended up really I liked that ending. It was good.
Yeah. We'll just see what happens next.
Yeah.
With him.
Oh yeah, we can call it good. We need to get going.
All right. So that's that. I guess we'll figure out what we're doing next. We can figure that out after.
We will eventually, yeah.
Yeah. But on that note, thank you everybody for listening. May you always find water and shade.